Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Religion of Human Nature podcast. I am so excited because if you grew up in the era that I did, you know this woman very well, at least from her on-screen character from the hit show 90210. Gabrielle Carteris is with me today, and we're talking some really important things that she is really the head honcho for in Hollywood. Gabrielle, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So let's start with 90210 because I think we have to. So that's where you're publicly most well known, certainly by my generation. How did you get started acting, and what was it like to land such an iconic role?
Oh my God, how I started acting. First of all, I always wanted to do theater. So that I knew that when I was little, and how lucky am I that I was able to, but I used to do plays in the backyard, and I would join theater groups. And then I was also a dancer. I did ballet for many years. I would have become a ballet dancer, actually. My grandmother's maiden name was Nowitzki. And I used to say, oh, if I become a ballet dancer, I'll be Gabriella Anna Nowitzki. I had a name all picked out, whatever, but I didn't become a dancer. And then I did mime, and I traveled through Europe, but I went to college to do theater. And then when I got out, I lived in New York, and I always just knew I wanted to do it. I talked about it in school. It was something I did summer stock, and I'm very, very fortunate that as I look at my life reflectively going back, I've actually been able to live my dream. And that's how lucky could I be?
That's amazing. A beautiful story. And you chased your dreams, and now you're sort of on the other side, I think, sort of.
I do both.
Okay, you do both.
You can't, right. So I'm the president of SAG-AFTRA, which is the union for performers here in the United States for people in front of the camera and behind the mic. We're the largest performers union in the world, actually. But I do it as a volunteer. So I need to work as an actor. In fact, the role of the presidency is designed for working members to come forward and volunteer. I think it's very important to be active in your career. If you're going to, for me, in order for me to be able to be the president of the union, because the issues that I deal with are going to be then the very issues that other members also deal with. It's a very important kind of relationship, but it's a lot. It's been, our union has transformed through so many years in the industry. We really recognize our place amongst labor rather than just seeing ourselves as performers. And, we're workers, and what our work happens to be in front of the camera or behind the mic, but we still, we have contracts to negotiate. We're a part of the labor movement. So I'm very involved with the AFL-CIO. I'm involved with FIA, which is the Federation of International Artists. Those are performers all over the world. Unions and associations all over the world who represent performers. But it's something that I had never imagined doing, but it's been an incredible, incredible journey. But I do act. I just finished doing 90210, the reboot last year. I just shot a film 2 weeks ago. So I'm doing what I can.
That's active, so it seems to me, and I apologize for getting that wrong, because I try to prepare for all my guests, and so I went back and watched a bunch of things, and how well spoken, and also how much progress you have made for I'm going to call it SAG just because I can't spit out that whole word, and I know SAG-AFTRA. Okay, so let's specifically talk about inclusion and equity, two things you're been very instrumental with in Hollywood. So what recent steps has Hollywood taken to ensure that progress in these areas? And I know you touched upon it a little bit before we started recording, but maybe share some of those successes.
First of all, so when I look at it, it's diversity, inclusion, and equity, right? Because it really goes hand in hand. I don't think we could do one without the other. When I first came into the presidency 5.5 years ago, I had to kind of declare my own mission statement, that would reflect what we have as an organization, what the mission is. But, everybody has a role, I guess, in a way. And I really needed to define what I felt my place was in the position that I'm in now. And that was, for me, 5.5 years ago, one of the things that I had presented was that I am committed to diversity, inclusion, and equity. And it really is it kind of speaks to what we were speaking about before, that, the idea is, we're storytellers. And it's very, very important that we reflect the real world, right? That our membership is comprised of every different type of individual, whether it's, different religions, different races, different sexual orientation, different abilities. We have the gambit. We are humanity. That's our membership. And so we really fight for the idea, and we have been doing, you heard about the pay inequities that take place across the gambit. I mean, we only reflect what's going on in society, right? But in our union, when you see the people, as a union, we negotiate contracts that give a base rate that is non-gender specific, doesn't matter, right? Whatever, if you're going to start, you can never make less than. We create a bottom. But from there, you can go and negotiate on your own anything above that. And we were finding with some of our top people, and you saw it in the press when it happened with a Millionaire, I forget the movie, where they had to reshoot and recast. No, reshoot a whole, yeah, they had to recast. So they ended up reshooting some of the scenes, and they brought back the actress, Michelle, can't think of her last name. When she came back, they offered her $1,000. And then Mark Wahlberg came in, and same agent, and they offered him $1 million to come back. And they never communicated with each other. And they thought, she thought, well, I've already been paid for this is just a redo on certain things. So no big deal. When she heard, and when the universe heard about it, right? When our country, then everybody came up in arms, because this is comparable work, 2 leads, one's woman, one's a man, and suddenly the pay discrepancy couldn't be bigger. And we see that pay discrepancy with people of color. We see, from a white person who's maybe the lead, somebody who's a person of color who's Black will be paid less, and a person who's Latino will be paid even less. And this is something that's not talked about in our industry, and everybody thinks it's an industry of inclusion. But the truth is, we again reflect the very challenges that the rest of the country deals with. And so we fought. So anyway, that was one of the things that I wanted to stand up for. I fight for that. I fight for, and I do that by working with the studios, working with legislation, working with members. We are right now just today, finished doing an unbiased training for all of our national board. We're going to be doing for local boards around the country, and then for the entire membership, because we have to be able to look in our own house to where I think that real systemic change only happens when we're really honest, right? So we have to sit down and really face where we can be better too.
Is that so? So I obviously I don't think you can turn on the news, or at least media news, and not media news, Hollywood news, and not see stories like that. I mean, I think there was a story also about how, like, the Big Bang Theory, when they were renegotiating the last 2 seasons, they all bonded together and said, we're going to take like the same amount of money or something like that, which is really powerful, right? Obviously, if the show can do that, and that show can do that, which had everyone's attention, and people, they just seemed like a group that loved each other, and also all they got along, and they were going to stick together, and good people. Is some of that issue coming from the studios? Is it coming from agents? Is it coming from people not speaking up? Where's sort of that equity piece falling, or is it just overall?
I think it's overall. When you talk about the Big Bang Theory, it was really Friends many, many, many years ago that took that stand together. And I was always struck by the idea, because we were around the same time, that Friends did that and 90210 did not do that. When we did our reboot last year, one of the things that I said the only way I would be involved is that everybody across the board had to be paid the same. And I wanted to make sure also that we had diversity with not only within the casting of our show, but also with people behind the camera, what you call below the line. Yeah. We need to see diversity across the board. And, but no, I think it's, It's part of it is the studios, it's, saving money here and there. Part of it's the agents, in the end, they just want to get what they can get. These are both those two people that I mentioned, in terms of what was seen publicly, had the same agents. But in the end, the agents were, happy they were going to be working with the production. They were getting their money. They were, whatever their comfort zones, they were reaching their place. And so that it didn't focus on how unfair that was, right? They weren't looking at that. They were looking at the individuals as commodity rather than human beings. And but I think that it's, look, this is prevalent throughout society. It's so not just here. We're just more in the public eye, but this is something that we really have to have these real conversations, and we have to put people in leadership roles who are different than the typical people we've always done the same. Because if we don't change that, we don't create new access points. We can't live forever in a place of total denial. It can't be just one group. It doesn't work. And if we're going to do something, we as Jews, right? I think it's really on us to work very hard to create inclusion and diversity. We actually know as a people what it's like to be marginalized and to lose that self determination when it's taken away. We need to be lifting people up. We need to insist on it and bring people into leadership roles that might not otherwise have had the opportunity. It doesn't mean they weren't good enough. They just weren't given the opportunity. And we have to be able to look in different places than we normally look.
It's funny you say that. I'm in the midst of an online conference for hundreds of rabbis. It ends in like an hour. And there were, because we're online, so many more people were able to join from all across the world. Yeah. And also, I made it a point to have meetings with a lot of my female colleagues who weren't in my class, because you tend to, you make your friends, and then you make your friends by your hobbies. So I made my friends by going to ball games with, certain rabbis. And so it was a big part of this conference, and has been for several years, which is really true. And I actually believe, I know I told you we weren't going to talk religion. That's my show. The tagline of the show is religiously not talking about religion, but like the Jewish people actually right now, I believe, hold a key to helping America, because we're rooted in debate and conversation and understanding the other and having multiple degrees. I mean, our rabbis, literally, our books are dedicated to debate. They're not just law for the sake of law. And what greater message could we send to our government and to our country, that like we can have different ideas in a spectrum, we can have different ideas and feel differently about issues, but also be really supportive of people who are coming from all walks of life, from different cities to different countries, and be better together. I want to touch on your TED Talk, because I did an Eli talk, which is not nearly as big, and I thank God for editors, because I forgot my speech middle of the way, but yours was so great and I really loved it. And someone recently asked me this question: would I have changed anything? Which I said I would have. I mean, it's 6 years, so it's been about, I think yours was in 2017, so like 4 or 5 years ago.
I can't. That when you told me that, I was like, oh my God. I was so nervous doing mine. I don't know about you. I was like, I wanted to hyperventilate. Leave me alone. I gotta go outside. And then once I started, I was like, oh, okay, I could do this. But yeah,
mine about 2 minutes in, I'm doing fine. There's this guy standing in the background, waving his hands, and you see something's going on, and I got distracted. He goes, "We forgot to press record." Oh, and that's when I lost it, because it was all in my head. I was ready to go, and then you're like, you're nervous. Your head, it's hard to. Anyways, looking back on your speech, anything you would have changed? And the story is really powerful, and I'll try to link it also in this because it was really great.
Thank you. Would I change anything? I actually would say I thought about that, because I know that you said you wanted to ask the question, and I don't know if I would change anything. Would I do a different kind of TED Talk at another time for something? I think that TED Talk in that moment was for me was quite liberating, actually, to be able to, in writing it and really thinking about what was going on, because sharing my journey through my injury, but um, really having the recognition through my service that how alike we all are. I really, I think that service is one of the most amazing things that we can do as human beings on the planet. I'm a strong believer in service, and there's many ways to be of service. But I think the greatest lesson in that moment, and why I don't think I would change it as a result, was really my aha moments that I had in writing it. The really understanding so deeply that power comes from our collective, and that we need each other, and that we are so similar, and that we can make changes if we can be honest with what the changes need to be, and then have the courage, despite our fear, to go and work on them. Right. So I don't know that I would change it. Would I do a different one now? I might look at it. I'd have to think about what that would be, but no, I don't know that I would go back on that.
The story you told about the women, I think you labeled them mostly women, cleaning up after
The janitors.
the janitors after.
Yeah.
I was like, now I have to research. Is this true? I'm like, she's not lying. She can't be lying. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't work in an industry.
It was even more what I actually had edited. I could do a whole thing on that, because people don't, we don't think about the night shift janitors. These were the women who are literally being, systematically raped by their supervisors, because it's usually one woman inside of a building at night with often a male supervisor. And there was a lot of terrible stories. And I sat listening to women tell their stories, and I was devastated. And it's unbelievable. That story was much, much more. That would be something I would elaborate on. Some of the things the secrets that people don't know that take place here in our country. We freely talk and criticize other countries and what's going on, making the mistake to not realize that in our own country, a lot goes on behind closed doors. And that if we can't see in our own lives, in our own house, what we have to do better, how could we ever expect to make the world better?
Agreed. The number one thing I think we take out of COVID is, let's look at ourselves and let's better. If we all can better ourselves, then we all can better the community. And
we're all better for it.
Yeah, we're so quick to point, oh, this one isn't doing the right thing for COVID, and this thing. And first, if we would have just taken care of ourselves to take care of the community, we would have been in better shape. So let's move to Hollywood. So Hollywood's been pretty shut down for COVID, and I think respectfully so, very strict about the shows that are going on. Everything I've heard has been very, I'm going to use the word kosher again, not a religious way. I'm using it in secular jargon. So do you see any major changes post-COVID to the industry?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, for everybody, we always talk about the technological boon. Well, COVID actually sped up technology in a way, exponentially.
Yeah.
I think we've arrived in our tech universe in a place that maybe would have been down the road 3 to 5 years from now. And we've seen all those changes. So I already know I do a lot with technology in the future of work, and how it's going to, we really need to be able to be at the forefront of the conversation with developers, helping them see what we really need help with, rather than people telling us what we need help with. We need to be in that conversation in technology. But right now, with everything that's the boon of what's taking place in technology, we see it just for your audience who's watching. How many people watch Netflix this year, and Amazon being, the first thing you heard from, well, if you're going to stay home, take the opportunity to watch programs you've never seen, film you've never seen. So the digital era has really now landed with us quite, we've seen even with Netflix, that incredible increase they've had. And now they're such their breadth of influence as a result of really being in the right place at the right time with the kind of technology they have. So we do have a lot of changes going on. This is a moment where a lot of the, I think, studios and productions started to evaluate the way they've done work in the past, and they're looking to, to adapt some of that. So yes, there will be major changes, if you look back in history, even the Spanish flu, when major, when that happened, the industry shut down for like, I think 3 years. When it came back, that was the advent of talkies came very shortly after. That technology, again, was being worked on very intensely during the illness when the industry was shut down. And it's, so there's going to be, I think, some kind of rebirth that we'll see, again, it'll be technology based, I think, in the way we shoot. But yes, there will be changes, like there'll be changes everywhere. So when people say, I can't wait till things get back to normal, I'm like, you should get that out of your lexicon. That's not that there. Why don't we just say, I cannot wait to see what the new world brings, because we are entering a new world.
All right, so I prepped you for this one because my wife, much bigger 902. I watched 90210, especially when Tiffany Faison came on, because I thought that was the coolest, like, oh, what is she doing? She's on the wrong show, and my head couldn't take it. And I was a huge Saved by the Bell fan. My wife is a big 90210 lover. So I said, I'm going to throw this in if she wants to answer it. So she loves the episode where you go on Jeopardy. So the question is, did you ever actually want to go on Jeopardy? And what was it like filming that?
Okay, so I love games. That being said, I don't know what happens. I cannot play games when I have to be televised because I'm so self-conscious. And it's hard, and I am a real focused, I want to win person. So that makes it really, it's too much. I can't balance it. But I had been asked actually to do Celebrity Jeopardy. I said, oh no, because people expect me to be smart and I will fail. It's not, my intelligence comes in a different way. So no, but I was very excited to play Jeopardy, to be there, and to, I was actually an answer in Jeopardy many years ago. And I actually wrote to Jeopardy asking if I could get and I don't know where it is, but I do have a tape of them using my name as one of the answers. But it was fun, I knew it was a big show, and it was great to do. It was great to be able to be a winner on a show that I'll never play on, but it was exciting. But I've been asked to play on it. I did not do it. I've played on some celebrity things. I just love being with her. All I do is laugh. I mean, I'm so not, all I do is like, this is so fun. I can't believe it's just, I'm a different person. I just can't do it.
Thank you so much for your time. This was great. It's an honor for me, both in the work you're doing, but also as seeing someone I, watched weekly on television, and, such a powerful show. I mean, really touched on so many issues ahead of its time. And from, just all the characters and how you all were portrayed, and certainly the new generation of 90210 fans, probably during COVID, I'm sure people found 90210 all over again. So thank you so much in the work you're doing, and hopefully a healthy and happy year going forward.
Thank you. Have a good Passover.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. You take care.